Welcome back to another chilling episode of Horror Story Radio. On today's tale, we learn why an inheritance is not always without a catch. So, get ready for Beneath the Skin. When Clara Thompson inherited her grandmother's farmhouse in Eldridge Hollow, it felt like a reprieve. City life had taken its toll. The migraines, the sleepless nights, the shadow she thought she saw out of the corner of her eye, all of it pointed to a life out of sync. The farmhouse stood lonely among dead wheat fields, a rusted mailbox leaning as if too tired to stand. Inside, dust blanketed every surface. A crucifix dangled crookedly over the threshold, and the air had that strange heaviness, like a church with no light. She moved in the next day. The first night was still. No wind, no crickets, just silence, the kind that buzzes in your ears. Clara chalked it up to exhaustion. But at 3:07 a.m., she woke to scratching. Light, deliberate, just behind the wall of her bedroom. Not mice, not insects. It sounded like fingers, long nails dragging across old wood. She pressed her ear to the wall. The scratching stopped. Then a whisper, faint.
Let me in.
She jerked back and flipped on the bedside lamp. Silence again. She didn't sleep. While cleaning out the attic, Clara found her grandmother's journal. Most entries were benign, recipes, weather complaints, gossip. But the final pages changed.
He visits me in my dreams now. First a man in shadow, then he shows his true face, no eyes, mouth stitched. He says he's always been part of our blood. The priest from Camden came. He tried to bless the house. He bled from the eyes. It wants the women. It grows inside us. Passed from one to the next. Like a seed in soil.
Clara shut the journal and felt something shift in the air, like the house was holding its breath. Father Madoc was the only priest in Camden who didn't hang up when Clara called. When he arrived, she saw that he limped, eyes sunken as if perpetually sleep-deprived. This house. Something happened here. I can just feel it. He didn't touch the doorknob. Instead, he took a small bottle from his coat and sprinkled holy water on the threshold. The water hissed, actually hissed, as it touched the wood, evaporating in a thin wisp of smoke. Father Madoc paled. God help us, he muttered. Inside, he began a prayer. The crucifix over the door snapped in half. Then the scratching returned, louder, angrier. From inside the walls, a voice bellowed.
She is mine.
Clara woke the next morning with her shirt drenched in sweat and something carved into her skin. Across her lower back, in ragged letters, Salvari non potest. She cannot be saved. The mirror reflected her pale face, eyes rimmed in red. She felt different. Like something had taken root, her reflection blinked a moment slower than she did. The days blurred. Shadows lengthened unnaturally. Her sleep became a battleground. One night, Clara dreamt of herself standing over a crib, a shadow wrapping around her spine like a lover's embrace. She looked down. The baby had no eyes. It cried smoke. She woke screaming, blood smeared across her mouth. At noon, she heard her own voice whispering from the basement.
Come down, Clara. It's time.
She hadn't spoken a word. When she finally went down the narrow basement steps, the bulb above flickered and died. In the pitch black, she heard breathing, not hers, wet and close. I shouldn't have left, Father Madoc said, standing at the door. His face looked gaunt, his hands shaking. He brought books, ancient, cracked leather, bound in twine. This isn't just a haunting. This thing has lineage. It's a parasite. It passes through the bloodline. Always female. Clara stared at her trembling hands.
My grandmother, she never had children, and my mother died giving birth to me.
Madoc nodded grimly. It's weakening your will. When the final bond is complete, you'll be its vessel, a shell. It will wear your skin. Clara laughed. It didn't sound like her. It was deeper.
She already let me in.
She whispered. The living room became a battlefield. Madoc set up a crude altar, candles flickering wildly, even without a breeze. Clara sat in a chair, eyes glazed over, murmuring in Latin. As the rite began, the air thickened like syrup. The ground trembled beneath them. Madoc sprinkled holy water. Clara screamed. Her skin blistered. Smoke rose from her pores. Then her voice, two voices, echoed. One her own, the other a guttural growl that made the walls bleed sap. She's not yours, Madoc roared, raising a crucifix. The thing inside her laughed.
And you think he listens anymore?
Clara, half conscious, half possessed, knelt before Madoc. The thing in her body smiled with cracked lips.
She doesn't want freedom. She wants power. I offered her what your God never could.
Madoc faltered. Clara's eyes turned black.
She said yes. All I did was open the door.
Then, in a moment of defiance, Clara screamed. Her real voice. She clutched her stomach and writhed.
The bloodline ends with me.
She pulled Madoc's ceremonial dagger from the altar and drove it into her gut. Madoc buried her beneath the ash tree behind the house. The air felt lighter. The shadows no longer moved on their own. But at night, he sometimes dreams of Clara's voice.
He's still here.
Beneath her skin, something still stirs. Father Madoc returned to the farmhouse 3 nights after the burial, unable to sleep. He wandered the halls, clutching his rosary, trying to reconcile the whispers that clawed at the edge of his sanity. They all carried Clara's voice. In the basement, the air turned cold. The bulb flickered once, twice, and then died with a final gasp. In its place, a low hum grew from the walls. Behind the furnace, he noticed the bricks, off color, hastily mortared. He pushed them loose, one by one. Behind them, a small, bricked-up cavity. Inside, bones, small and human, wrapped in linen. The bundle had a note pinned to it, faded and soaked through with something black. It was born in silence. May it never speak again. The child hadn't just died. It had never lived. The town's midwife had vanished the same year Clara's mother died in childbirth. The local church archives, once pristine, had pages torn from the baptismal records for that year. Father Madoc combed through journals, old parish scrolls, even the county mental asylum's forgotten ledgers. One file stood out. Margaret Lynn Thompson, 1942. The file detailed a persistent delusion involving a shadow man entering through her womb in her sleep, inseminating darkness. She gave birth to a stillborn child, then hung herself. Madoc's hands trembled as he turned the last page. Scribbled in the margin was a phrase. Blood is the key. She opened the door again. Madoc called in reinforcements, 2 monks from St. Elias, a remote monastery in Vermont rumored to handle pre-Vatican spiritual warfare. Brother Juno, a man of few words, carried a blackened wooden box sealed with 7 wax symbols. Inside were relics not found in any church catalog. They did not sleep. That night, the house groaned as if it resented their presence. Walls pulsed with a heartbeat. Lights dim. Clocks stopped. At 2:47 a.m., Clara's voice rang from the attic.
You buried the shell, not the seed.
They rushed upstairs. A shadow formed on the far wall, twisting, serpentine. The crucifix Brother Juno held split down the center. The relic box cracked open on its own. They began a new rite, one older than Latin. Brother Juno drew a circle with ash and bone dust, chanting in Coptic, words never meant to leave the lips of man. Something shrieked from beneath the floorboards. The attic floor buckled. Plaster peeled like skin. A black hand reached up, grasping the edge of the circle. Clara's voice cried out again, broken and layered with something deeper.
He's here. I can't hold him.
Then her body rose from the floor, fully intact, dirt and blood drying on her skin. She floated inches above the ash circle. Her mouth hung open, but her eyes had no end. Father Madoc stepped into the circle. Let her go. The thing inside her smiled.
She begged me to stay. She couldn't bear being alone. None of you can.
It offered a deal.
Give me a parish, a city of the faithful, one church, one gate. I'll leave her and never return.
Juno shouted.
Don't listen! It's a trick!
But Madoc saw Clara's hands trembling. Her fingers signed something, "Kill me," over and over. He lit the ring of salt and ash. The flames rose high, circling Clara, trapping the entity within. It screamed, not in pain, but in rage. Wind surged inside the attic, blowing inward. All the windows burst at once. Juno was flung across the room. Books tore themselves apart. The fire curled inward, consuming the body. Clara's last words came not through her lips, but from the walls.
Tell them not to bury me here.
Then silence. The farmhouse burned for 6 hours. The fire department called it an electrical fault. No one questioned the absence of Clara's remains. Father Madoc returned to the city, haunted and hollow. He left the church 6 months later, but late at night he still dreams of her. And always, he wakes to find Latin scrawled on his bathroom mirror in blood. We are Legion. We remember you. 18 years later, a college student named Aaron St. James purchased a ring from a vintage shop in Eldridge Hollow. It was gold, engraved with faded Latin, Salvari non potest. That night, she woke at 3:07 a.m. to scratching on the inside of her mirror, and a voice that whispered,
Let me in.
If you like this tale, like and subscribe and join us soon for another spine-tingling tale of horror.